baseball in the swing. I don't think it's as thinking it.
Have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
It's morning.
Yes, and what a lovely morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
You drink my last Dr. Pepper?
Did you give my uncle a reach around at my granddad's funeral?
Okay.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash.
We are now representing 12 women, and we will file the remaining cases, the additional 5 cases in due course as we do our due diligence. You should also know that we've also spoken to more than 10 additional women. So more than 22 women that we've spoken to who have reported conduct similar to that laid out in our public filings. We actually had contact with Sean Watson's agent/lawyer from Los Angeles, who minimized these allegations, who did not take them seriously. We wanted to resolve this matter without a lawsuit, without any publicity. We knew that once we filed a lawsuit, Texas, of course, has an open courts provision in the Constitution, so all lawsuits are public, and we wanted to avoid that. What we received instead of cooperation with Mr. Watson's agent was dismissive behavior and, frankly, incredible arrogance. Even after we had discussions with Mr. Watson's lawyer at the time, before he hired Rusty Harden, one of the clients that we represent, even after we had had correspondence and after we had talked to Mr. Watson's lawyer, he did it again. This conduct happened as recently as this month.
Those were remarks from the attorney that is filing the lawsuit, as 6 more lawsuits alleging sexual assault and inappropriate conduct were filed against Deshaun Watson on Monday. As he stated, the number is up over 20 at this point of women who have accused Watson, 13 lawsuits against Watson since last week. What to watch today. There's no March Madness. Hell, there's not even any NIT action. So we look over at MLB.tv for the last of the spring training games as it's coming to a halt this week. All these games are available on MLB.tv. 105 first pitch. You got the Atlanta Braves taking on the Boston Red Sox, the Twins and Pirates, Nationals and Cardinals, Yankees versus Tigers, Rays versus the Orioles, and Marlins versus the Mets at 1:10. At 4:05, these games will be on MLB.tv as well. Giants Indians, Angels versus Rangers, and Chi-Town action, White Sox versus the Cubs. And at 4:10, first pitch, you've got the Brewers versus the LA Dodgers. And we finish this sports flash with the solemn farewell to one of the NBA greats, Mr. Elgin Baylor. Elgin Baylor died of natural causes on Monday and was surrounded by his wife, Elaine, and his daughter, Crystal. One of the most untalked about greats of the game because of the era that he played in long before cable TV, Sports Center, etc. Elgin Baylor was an 11-time All-Star, the NBA All-Star MVP in 1959, 10-time All-NBA First Team, the NBA Rookie of the Year in 1959. He was easily voted into the NBA's 50th anniversary team. His number 22 was retired by the Los Angeles Lakers, and he played his college days at the College of Idaho and Seattle from 54 and 55 to 56 to 58. Elgin Baylor was the number 1 pick overall in the 1958 draft. Elgin Baylor was 86 years old. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for more of the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast. Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. The Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Justin Waller.
Good morning. I don't know much, but I know one thing. It appears Mr. Deshaun Watson has more appearances to civil court than the Big Ten was allowed to the NCAA tournament.
Hi, I'm Mac McGinn. I don't know much, but I know one thing. That dude in Atlanta might have shot up the wrong massage parlor. Too soon? Too soon?
Way too.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
What the Rock is cooking.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Hey, howdy, hi, top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. I'm Mac McGee alongside Justin Waller, and joining us today is Mr. Stephen Trosh every Tuesday. Stephen, how the hell are you this morning?
I'm doing great. I woke up this morning and I still have a 99 percentile bracket, so I am doing great.
That's awesome. It proved what I said yesterday. People that know college basketball are doing terrible in this tournament. People that are doing great don't follow it. My wife's doing really well in our bracket. she can't tell you what. I mean, I'm surprised that she even knows what some of these teams are. Half of them, she's like, "Where are they?" You know that kind of thing. I knew you were leading, so that's why I decided to play your boy Rock or The Rock this morning, ex-Hurricane. Justin, how the hell are you?
Well, better than my bracket. Yeah, mine's horrible. And I don't even watch college basketball, so I don't even know what that says about me.
I'm doing great, man. Florida State's going on to Sweet 16. And what I have been preaching last couple of days has continued. The Big Ten is a fraud. It is an absolute fraud. They have one team left in Michigan. Michigan is a good team. I'm not taking anything away from from the Michigan program, but the conference is a fraud. They have all these big highly ranked teams, highly seeded teams, and they don't get but one to the Sweet 16. Meanwhile, the Pac-12 can't be beat. And I think I'm going to watch more Pac-12 basketball because of this next year. I'm going to try to remember this, and evidently they got some stuff going on out there in the Pac-12 that needs to be watched more. They need to put it on national television more in normal times. Don't give me 11 o'clock at night on a Wednesday and expect me to lock into Gonzaga versus whoever. Give me some freaking Pac-12 action. I said Gonzaga, I meant UCLA, but give me some
does
Pac-12.
the West Coast not like day games? I mean, we love them here on the East Coast.
Well, you got to go by what their time period is.
It'll be day for them. It'll be night for us. It'll be okay. Early afternoon.
I think by next year, everything will be back to normal. So everyone will be at work. So yeah, but they've got to get some games going on at least by 6 o'clock their time to be able to get some eyeballs on it. It's just like, I know there's a lot of great NBA out West Coast. I don't watch it. I mean, I don't watch a whole lot of NBA anyways anymore, but I'm not going to stay up at 10:30 at night to watch a game till 2 o'clock in the morning. It's stupid. But anyways, we'll move on. I'm excited for the Final Four. That's the Sweet 16 that is headed our way. And that is starting Saturday. Oddly enough, it's not the typical Friday, that we're used to. It starts Saturday. And with that being said, let's go ahead and transition into fantasy baseball. Most leagues are drafting this coming weekend. If you're not drafting this coming weekend, you're drafting within the next week. We will probably do a little fantasy baseball prep next Tuesday as well, because you still got 2 days before the season starts. So there are some people that will cram in a draft next Tuesday or Wednesday. So we'll make sure to do that. Steven, before we go any further, I was wondering if you could lay on us this unique league that you're in, the $100 buy-in league that you do. And it's a bit of a dynasty. And Sean was kind of giving me some ideas of what the rules were. He's texting me back and forth. You've told me in the past, but I don't remember them all. Can you let us know what makes your league different?
So the main thing that's different is in a normal dynasty league, you have, it's just, you get to keep whatever players you want. I mean, you get a set number of players, and then that's kind of it. I mean, you can trade players, trade picks, but so in our league, all players are offered 2 contracts. So you do an auction draft, and so you get their value that way. You have a $260 salary cap. So we have, and that is between 30 players. So we start 9 pitchers and 23 fielders. And so you basically have to offer contracts up to you can only keep players 4 years under contract, which will last year be a franchise. You can have players in the minors. They don't cost anything to your salary cap. They just kind of sit on your bench. It's just it's a nice twist on it to where it gets the real baseball feel of it, where you have to really value the players based on their on their salary contracts. But you also have to really know the minors, know how, what teams are doing with their players, and it's a way to get more into the game. Okay, so let me ask you this: how many players do you keep each year? So Sean picked up a team. He said it was trash. I was like, yeah, bullet dodged. No, it was pretty bad, but the way the contracts were structured, he didn't really have anybody under contract. So I think he could have only kept 2 people if he really wanted to. But for me, I have maybe 14 keepers. So you got 14 keeper, and he has 2. He's gonna but that also means he can come into this draft with a clean slate and pick whoever he wants. Of what's left, right? It's not like you're working with a salary cap. It's you are working with a salary cap, and once those contracts expire, players. So if you have Freddie Freeman, I can have Freddie Freeman. No, it's just no. I'm saying if they, say you've had them for 3 years, they're not an expiring contract. Just what I'm saying is he's screwed, because if you kept 14, and let's say if the rest of the league keeps somewhere in that neighborhood, how many teams are in the league? 10-ish.
Yeah. So let's say they all keep around 14. He's going to go into round one with, and you're saying it's an auction. He's going to have money to spend, but 140 players are gone.
Oh yeah, it just depends it's a team by team basis. I'm pretty sure like Sean only kept 3 or 4. I mean, like there's a few of the teams that have done that too. So, but I mean, like the thing is, a lot of the studs, like Trout was like a $60 player last year. He's not being kept. He goes back to the pool. So like most of the studs go back every year, unless like for me, I have Tatis on basically a league minimum contract. So I mean, like there's a few like that are out there, but. Most of
Tatis not threatening to hold out on you? That's the question me and Justin have.
I'm pretty sure he's going to report.
Okay, we will keep tabs on that. League minimum, Tatis, you should be getting a lot more, man. I'm just telling you, man. I don't think that you should show up for camp.
You should bat flip you and just go home.
I'm going to be interested to keep up with this league all year long because I'm really curious. I think Sean has gotten in over his head. And so I'm curious to see what happens.
I think he'll be fine in this league. I mean, when I started, when I started like this league, I didn't even know you. So I mean, I was like 2 years in a fantasy baseball. So I think he'll be fine.
Simpler times for you, my friend. Simpler times.
Yes.
All right. Well, that is a pretty interesting deal. Justin, just so you know, we have created another draft. It's a snake draft on Monday night. If you want to join, you're more than welcome. I just didn't want to put too much on your plate, so you can just let me know off air if you want to join. There are a couple of slots available, but it's just a simple $5 buy-in, winner take all. It's a simple snake draft. A couple of people kind of hit me up and said, "Man, I kind of wish we were doing an actual like normal draft because we have our dynasty draft where we're keeping 15 players, excuse me. None of these, by the way, have the intricacy that Stephen was just talking about with salaries, contracts and all that kind of stuff. Then we got a rotisserie one where we're keeping 25 of the 30 teams because we wanted a true dynasty team. I still don't understand how my team is going to win or not win. That one still confuses the hell out of me. I'm going to still try to learn more of it this year. And then we've got our normal auction draft, which that is just a from scratch auction draft. So now we're going to do a traditional snake draft because basically I'm hoping that one ends up being just as fun as well. I hope I haven't ruined myself for a traditional snake draft with all these other things that we're doing. 3 of our drafts are on Sunday, and then the Monday night one, I don't think that one's going to take very long in a traditional snake draft. It feels like the auction one took forever last year, did it not?
Yeah.
It did.
I need to check the times on when that starts because I might need to start that thing a tad early just to be able to or maneuver some times around to make sure that we have enough time. But all that being said, strategies going into the draft, let's just do the simple. We'll take the dynasties out of play because they're so different across the board that we could talk for days about the different kinds of dynasty ones. But let's go simple with the traditional auction from scratch and the traditional snake draft from scratch. Justin, I'll start with you. When you go into a snake draft,
we won't be talking about auction.
Huh?
I said, well, I won't be starting with the auction draft.
What do you mean?
I've only played in one of them, and I did horrible. So
that was really Zeke and Saquon back to back.
Oh, I'm talking about the auction baseball. Were you not in the auction baseball one last year?
I don't believe I was. I think.
I just assumed
in an
you
auction
were.
baseball. So I've only done this in in football.
You are.
Really?
Yeah, because I renewed the league and you're in it again. So yeah.
I didn't realize it was an auction last year. Must have missed my draft.
Maybe that's why you didn't win that one.
Could very well be.
They're trying to.
I mean, I won the rotisserie, and I still, just like you, don't even know how we're playing it. I know it's daily this year, but I still, over the entire course of last season, didn't figure out what I'm trying to win, even though I somehow won it. So, little beginner's luck there.
I saw some suggestions, by the way, on the rotisserie. So there were some slight changes to the rules, nothing big, but Ks have been changed from just your typical strikeout category to strikeouts versus walks per 9 innings to add a little spice to it, and home runs to total bases. So there's nothing crazy. Just flip-flop those two out so that you're still being counted for, like, if you get a triple or a double. It realistically comes down to the slugging percentage, but they say that the total bases ends up being more fun than an actual, going just strictly slugging, since we already do the OBS on one of our things already. So but when you go into a typical snake draft, whether you're going to play in this one or not, Justin, do you have a strategy as far as, because Doug was talking about this yesterday, and he felt like that after 5 rounds, he needs to have either 3 batters or 3 pitchers. In other words, very even, 3-2, whichever way it swings. Do you feel that way, or do you tend to just go best person available?
Well, it's tough because I mainly play in leagues with our group of friends. I don't play as many outside leagues as you guys do. So I put an emphasis on pitching. That is my main thing, is I want my aces out of the get-go, and then I'm looking for outfielders. I think the outfielders are the hardest thing to find the pop later on. I usually have success throughout the season finding middle infielders if I'm weak somewhere, but my strategy is I want to have my core rotation in place and at least 2 of my bats by round 5, if that's what we're going by. So when that 5th round comes around, I'm looking for best available and have 2 arms and 2 outfielders. Usually. Okay. I mean, I'm looking for kind of, I guess I'm similar to him. But arms are of importance. And if there's a big run, I'll change that. I'm not set in my way. I like staying fluid and kind of going opposite of everybody else. I see everybody taking arms, I'll take a huge bat. I mean, it just depends on where we're at, but my no strategy is my strategy. But I do want to have those positions of the arms and the outfielders set, because I've in years past put more emphasis on middle infield. My infatuation with middle infielders, but they don't have the biggest pop and don't carry, to me, as much weight as an outfielder does in fantasy baseball. So I shift my importance to the outfield.
Steven, what say you on it? Because I tend to go searching for batters. Now, if they're just elite pitchers that fall in my lap, fair enough. But I kind of want to build my batting, because I feel like it's easier to find pitching throughout the year than it is to find elite batters throughout the year.
So I mean, in our league, it's a little bit harder to find pitching, just because people are just churning streamers basically all week. So going into the draft, I don't really have a set strategy, because I mean, every single draft is different. Like, even with our group, I mean, we've done how many drafts over the years, and I mean, even in the same year, we could all have vastly different teams. So I mean, like, my best strategy really is kind of touching on Justin's no strategy, is just basically be able to roll with the tide. I at least like to get one of the elite pitchers, because I mean, it's like now more than ever, innings pitched are going to be like the main driver of fantasy value. So I want to get at least one of the aces, possibly 2, depending on how the second round plays out. From there, I just like to play whoever's available. Every draft, you're going to see people fall that shouldn't. Just always keep an eye out. Basically, the players that you like, I like to reach a round or 2, but everywhere else, I'm looking to get players.
I bet you do like a reach around or 2.
Hey, Kareem Hunt is rookie year.
Right, man. You just played that up there for me. I couldn't left alone.
I know.
I'm glad you swung at that pitch, because it was coming.
I just laid an ephus there right for you.
No, but great strategy there, Steve.
Oh, it's a great strategy. basically get one elite pitcher, just kind of fill in based on need and who falls. I like to wait on catcher, relief pitcher, and second base. Those positions, you're not even the elites, you're not going to get super value out of, kind of like Justin said. So just wait for those, wait for the good value to fall in the later rounds, and just load up on batters and starting pitchers early.
Yeah,
we're all chasing quality starts. Sorry, Mac. Go ahead.
No, yeah, and that is true. I just feel like there have been years when I've gone so pitch heavy, and then my team has suffered because what comes up from the minors every year is usually a lot of pitchers, right? And also there's guys that just have good years out of nowhere that you just don't expect. A guy like Gausman last year for San Francisco, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, you don't see that as much with batters. Batters usually hit the back of their baseball card, as I always like to say. If the guy hits 315, no matter what he's doing in April, by the time he gets to September, he's going to be hitting around 315. I know that there are some, changes to that. If a guy's just having a really bad year for whatever reason, if a guy is injured, if he's just old man River finally caught up with him, whatever. But that's why I feel like that I want to, if I'm high in a draft, I want to make sure. In other words, if I get the first five pick of the draft, it's seriously doubtful that I'm going to go for a pitcher. I got to make sure I get one of those elite batters, and I'm probably going to swing back around because the way the dip goes, let's say if you get the 5th pick overall and you're in let's say a 10-man league and you draft a hitter, the way the dip is going to go around, the 2 or maybe 3 pitchers that are worth a first or second round pick are most likely going to be gone when it comes back to me. So I'm probably going to go hitting again. And then once again, I'm probably going to go hitting again. And then I'll start trying to fill up my roster with what I call, the high 2s, the high 3s. And it's great if you can get an ace, but I don't like grabbing an ace at the expense of me having a hole in my lineup. And, look, you can win either way. That's just the way that I choose because I've been burned too many times. And then of course the other problem is how many times have we drafted someone high and then the old dreaded Tommy John surgery comes on. You're like, oh my God. If you draft a Juan Soto, there's a pretty good chance he's going to play the majority of his 162. But it's one snap slider away from Garrett Cole just being marched off into, we'll see him in 2023. And you're like, son of a, and so that's my other reasoning. The actual auction leagues, which have become my favorite now. Steven, what is your strategy going into an auction league? I feel like you tend to sit back like Doug does and don't spend a lot of money early and then try to pounce late. Is that what you intend to do, or is that just what it tends to happen?
That's just what tends to happen. Because the first 5 to 10 picks off the board, they are the elite players, but everyone has money to spend, so everyone is trying to get them, and the prices usually get way overvalued. So yeah, I always kind of let those ride, and then I'll just pounce on like 2 of the second tier to kind of make up for it. But yeah, I don't go like as far as Doug does, where I'm like 15 rounds in with 3 players, but
dude, he'll go in. You'll be 20 rounds in the draft, and Doug still has all his money. I'm like, what? Dude, that's great and all, but at the end of the day, you're going to pay like $40 for the someone like Lux of the Dodgers because no one else is bidding that high because they don't have that money. I love at the end of drafts, everyone spend their money, and I can get basically if there's players left over and everyone's down a couple bucks, I can just put $3 bid. And it just automatically gives them to me. But I like to skip the elite players because a lot of people will get. I've seen it happen. Not necessarily you, Justin, but they'll get 2, maybe 3 of the top 10 players, but have no money left for the rest of the draft. And so it's a very, very stars and scrubs type team.
But I mean, I've had a lot of times where I'll have no first rounders, but 6 second rounders. So it just really depends on how you value the players and what kind of roster you want to go with.
See, my strategy is just to get all the money out of you guys' pocket so then I can buy players. But that usually winds up costing me money, and you guys leave me with the high bid. So I wind up with stars and bust. That's pretty much my roster.
I thought your strategy was you won't be able to do this to us this Sunday, but it's to get all the running backs and then have no money left over for anything.
Well, I will be on vacation, so I intend to be available for all 3 of these, but I might have to fend the wife off at some point. So I have no idea, but the auction is not getting auto drafted this time. That will not be the one that it goes down on. So we will.
Where are you going to be on vacation?
We are headed out to Grand Junction, Colorado, and going to spend half our time there and the other half in Moab, Moab, Utah.
Okay, so we're going to change the auction time to early Sunday morning because he'll be 3 hours behind us or 2 hours behind us.
Yeah.
I mean, if you I'll be up. Sean and I will be up until 1 o'clock doing that other draft anyway. Just
there we go.
30.
We'll do one. We'll give you all a chance to have a good hearty breakfast and kick that thing off around 4:30 in the morning. And if Justin is up at that time, he ain't drafting, man. He's gonna be wobbly legged.
Don't you underestimate the champ. Y'all put some respect on that.
I did just move the auction draft up a little bit while we were talking because my concern is we just won't have enough time. So it's getting moved up to 3:30 Eastern, and then that gives us that gives us over 3 hours to be able to draft that. I feel like that's what that thing ended up doing. It dragged almost 3 hours, and we didn't realize it because there's so many baseball players to draft on. And then the next one, the rotisserie one at 7:15, that's not going to take long at all. It's only 5 rounds. And then the other one, 8:15, the dynasty one. So, and Florida State tips off in the middle of all this junk. So that's going to be my handicap right there. Steven, you're going to be in North Carolina, are you?
Yep. I head up there Saturday.
Well, now how long are you up there for?
I am, I leave the 17th of April, I believe.
Okay. So are you going to be with us on Tuesday still?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, we're coming up on time. What is your walk-off, sir?
Let's see, like less than a week till our drafts. First of all, good luck to you guys. Good luck to everyone out there drafting. I hope everyone kills their teams and gets all the players they want.
Good luck to you in your bracket as well. But legally, I have to say that I'm pulling for my wife. So that is by law, I've been told. So, but I told her, I said, I think it's going to be hard because you all have the same team winning. And so whoever's got the lead here, I haven't looked at it and broken all down, but it's going to be kind of topsy-turvy on who had on probably this next round. We will know quite a bit. All right, brother, we'll see you next Tuesday. And then we'll, of course, see you in some way, shape, or form on Sunday.
All right. Have a good day.
We're going to be back in a flash. When we come back, we're going to talk a little March Madness. Also, the Braves roster is getting trimmed down here in a couple of days, and we're going to basically figure out who they're going to keep. And at the top of the hour, you're not going to want to miss this because I got a lot to say about the bitching and moaning about the women's facilities not being up to par with the men's facilities at the Final Four. We'll be back in a flash.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side.
Armchair Quarterbacks Radio covers the whole SEC the whole season long.
Dobbs heaves it. They're bunched up in the end zone. It's tipped up. It's caught. It is caught. Jawan Jennings.
Just the start of things. First quarter at the Geetha Bowl in Jacksonville as Walker digs to the right, gets outside, the 35. Look out. He's past midfield and he's got a blocker. Cuts to the inside. Herschel Walker. There he goes again.
Straight up the middle. Touchdown. Delayed reaction, but Tebow got in. Oh, jump pass. How about that? Oh, my gosh. That looks like 1955. Holy cow. Are you kidding me?
Armchair.
SEC! SEC!
Don't go away, monkey junkies.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Armchair.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Is that Shakespeare?
Nope, it's Geico.
Yeah. That's Shakespeare from one of his unpublished works. Oh, it be not for awakening. Nay, giveth thou the berries. For 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
No, it's from Geico, because they help save people money.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but Geico got it from Shakespeare.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Hey, sports fans, football season is here, and it's time to get in on the action. MyBookie.ag has more odds and props than anyone else in the industry. Using MyBookie is simple. Just pick your team, select your odds, and collect your cash. MyBookie.ag has proven to be the most exciting online experience for all sports fans. With the fastest payouts in the industry, there's no other choice than MyBookie.ag. Get in on the action today. Visit MyBookie.ag today.
Dread running to the post office? Stamps.com brings post office and UPS services right to your computer. Send letters, ship packages, and get up to 40% off USPS and up to 62% off UPS rates. Nearly 1 million small businesses use Stamps.com to save time and money. It's a no-brainer. So skip the post office and visit Stamps.com. Use promo code LISTEN for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. That's Stamps.com, promo code LISTEN.
I'm Amy Lawrence, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
You're not sick tonight, are you? Good. Your tongue's going to be hanging out. Tell him to throw up on his own time.
Good morning. Welcome back to Armchair Quarterbacks Radio here on CBS and on YouTube Live. Make sure to join and subscribe today. You can catch us every day. Justin Michael commented to us, Deshaun Watson should join the Patriots so Robert Kraft can show him where to go.
Yeah, I mean, I had that thought this morning. So great minds think alike. I was like, well, if he just got traded to the Patriots, they could help him with his legal issues. I mean, Kraft knows this game inside and out. Plus, I mean, he'll give him some numbers to some parlors in Florida.
He is in a mess, and you notice that the national media is not saying a damn thing about it. They are skating over it. I've always got my monitors on ESPN in the mornings to see if there's any breaking news or whatever. They have just skimmed right over this topic because it doesn't fit their narrative. And that just tells you once again, where ESPN's mindset is. If you put a couple of other quarterbacks in the same predicament, this thing would be all over. Let Aaron Rodgers be in the same situation. It would be all over the news. I'll get into it more the next hour. But there is an article that I tweeted out early this morning that I came across, and it goes into detail what the witnesses, what one of the witnesses says happened over a 1-year period, and it's pretty graphic. And he comes across as a creeper. Now, whether she's telling the truth or not, I'm not going to condemn him yet. But there's too much smoke for there not to be a little bit of fire. And there's way too much smoke for the national media outlets like ESPN not to be covering this more. They're over here worried about what Mac Jones is going to do today at his pro day for Alabama. And they've been talking about that for the last 10 minutes. Like that means one damn bit of anything, as opposed to, they love to talk about the NFL, and they've got something right there. And they just, every time I see them bring it up, it's a blurb, and then they move on to something else. They go, well, let's break down what James Harden means to the Nets for the next 22 minutes. Some some news and what's happening in the world of sports, though. Odori Jackson, ex-Tennessee Titan, is now a New York Football Giant. Also, this happened this morning, just a little while ago. It was confirmed Mike Davis, running back for the Carolina Panthers, has agreed in terms to become a Falcon. 2 years, $5.5 million, $3 million fully guaranteed. And I want to say that there was another one of interest. Well, the Chargers are signing left tackle Sam Tevy, and I think that was about it on that front. I'll keep you updated as things move on this morning. And there's one Big Ten team left in the NCAA tournament. Kind of touched on that earlier after them being lauded as being by far the best conference in America. There's one team left. I believe there's 5. I believe all 5 of the Pac-12 teams are still left.
Is Colorado Pac-12?
Colorado. Oh no, that's
you
right.
sent one home. I think you
so
have the
4.
only.
You're right, 4.
The only loss for them out there, because you've got USC, Oregon, UCLA, and there's one on the other side of the bracket, Oregon State. That was the other one.
Yeah, I always compartmentalize Colorado in my head.
Every time I say Pac-12, I feel like I'm misspeaking because I'm like, that makes no sense. But yeah, they're Pac-12.
I think I always put them in the Big 12 because they were there for years. They were actually the Big 8 for years as well. But yeah, so Florida State's going to try to send the last one home too. They take on Michigan this Sunday. Tip-off times, by the way, for this weekend: 2:40 Oregon State, which Justin just talked about. They're going to take on Loyola Chicago. 2:40 on Saturday, so it all gets going at 2:40 on Saturday, Justin. So around noon your time, out there in Colorado, and then Villanova and Baylor will follow that. Or Roberts versus I've got this wrong. Arkansas, yeah. I wrote down Baylor twice. Or Roberts versus Arkansas at 7:25, and the Cuse, they're going to try to take out Houston at 9:55 at night. I'm really surprised it's that late on a Saturday. They couldn't have got that going just a little earlier. It's really strange. I mean, dude, you can be groggy and double knee bended over by the time. If you start drinking at 2:40, by the time midnight hits, it's all going to be all over but the crying.
And Steven and Sean are going to have a rough draft. They're watching basketball all day.
Dude, all I had to hear was $100 buy-in, and I knew my wife would lose her mind. I was like, "No, I'm already in. I'm in one big money league that I never talk about. I can't be doing, that one's not quite as big as the one that I'm in, but I can't be doing 2. I like having fun with ours. And plus, once I heard what he told me, I don't like joining a league when the cards are stacked against me, because pretty much it means that you're donating your money to the winner for the next 2 to 3 years while you try to build it up. I did it in that ESPN league with ESPN Fantasy Football, and I still kind of regret joining that one because, well, there's a million reasons. But anyways, Sunday's games, it gets started at 2:00, a little earlier. I wish they would start it at noon. It would be a lot more fun. Creighton versus the Zags at noon. 2 Eastern. I'm surprised that was the early game because Florida State, Michigan, which is being played at 5, that is the only matchup of 2 teams that are not involved in the West Coast. So I'm really surprised the Florida State Michigan game isn't early. Isn't the early one, because Creighton versus the Zags, that's going to be 2:10 Eastern. So it'll be 11 a.m. out on the West Coast. And then comes 7:00 Sunday night, UCLA versus BAMA. That should be a great one. And then Oregon versus USC. That should be a great one. So they could still have 3 teams left in the grade 8 if the Pac-12 wins out, because they're going to get one eliminated when Oregon plays USC.
What time did you say that USC Oregon game was?
9:45 Sunday night.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a rough one.
That ain't gonna be work Monday morning because that's the game I have circled. Out of all of them, the matchups. I mean, I know the Florida State Michigan's going to be of interest for me, but just the outside looking in, the funnest game I think is going to be that USC Oregon, because what I saw against Iowa and Kansas, those are two good basketball teams that I know we've said it numerous times yesterday and today, but I've neglected the Pac-12 this year, and I will be watching some Pac-12 basketball next year because that USC-Kansas game was amazing last night. Well, unless you're a Kansas fan. I mean, USC put it on them. Never looked back. Just put it to them. And there wasn't much difference in the Oregon-Iowa game. It was close for a little bit, but Oregon just took over.
Iowa looked outclassed.
Yeah.
Absolutely outclassed.
I mean, their big man had a great game. I think he had 36 points, but you take him off of there, they get boat raced.
That's one of the few things that I actually picked correctly in my brackets was that I took Oregon.
I'm intact in the West and the East. Essentially, Texas is the only thing that I missed on. But now you get over to the South and Midwest, and looks like a 2-year-old filled out my bracket. Well, there's nobody left. I mean, I'm out.
Well, not to make it keep sounding like an excuse, but if anyone in their right mind would have had Oregon State in the Sweet 16, Oral Roberts in the Sweet 16, I mean, it's for that matter, the UCLA Oregon, USC Oregon one didn't surprise me. I actually had that one, but it's a little surprising that there's so many upsets on one side of the bracket. And the other side of the bracket, including Creighton, who had so many reasons why they shouldn't be in there, that they made it this far. It's surprising that both Alabama, Michigan, and Gonzaga, that someone didn't get tripped up. But I will say this, those three teams are playing really good basketball. Florida State blew out Colorado yesterday at the end, but if you watch that game, man, they had a lot of opportunities where Colorado just needed to get on a hot streak. Colorado did not shoot well, and I don't like giving excuses, but their community did get rocked by that terrible shooting that happened in Boulder, Colorado yesterday afternoon. I don't know if any of them were involved in any way, but regardless, you find out in your hometown that there was a terrible shooting where someone just walked into what was a grocery store or whatever it was and just lost their mind and started shooting.
I was wondering if they knew that at game time, if they had been told, or if it had happened. I don't know the timeline.
They had to have,
after
because
they had found out. Because they took a lot of useless trips up and down the court where they were in transition and just didn't play half court basketball, and they pushed it, spread it, missed, and Florida State ran back down the court. And the one thing you guys do well, or you did yesterday, was transition. I mean, you guys had no problem forcing it up the court, and you slowed it down when you need to, but you scored on the transition. And then, like you said, you had a stretch there where you just pulled away from Colorado.
They did a better job last night, Florida State did, than what they did in the first game of playing what I call Florida State basketball, which is defense that gets up in your face, that makes it difficult to move the ball. I'm actually watching the replay as we speak, but they were – it wasn't like crazy helter-skelter like sometimes that they like to run with the full court press and trapping, but they did what they typically do, which is most shots were contested, most shots were not easy to get off. Now, I will say this, Colorado did miss some shots. In fact, I just saw one where the guy came off the screen, was wide open at the top of the key and shot an air ball, but it still worked out in their favor because they got the rebound, the guy got fouled. But that kind of thing, like you expect your guy to hit that shot. But when FSU went to break up 24-20, I was sitting there at that point. I was like, man, we have been dominating this game, and we're only up by 4. This is pathetic. And I thought for sure that was going to be the recipe of Florida State choking it away. But they rattled off. They went from scoring 24 in the first half to scoring 47 in the second half, and Colorado just couldn't keep up. FSU won that 71-53. Polite was by far the player of the game, as he hit 4 from 7 from 3-point land, and really the guy that's been the most underwhelming and disappointing player in this entire tournament for Florida State so far, and even a little bit into the ACC tournament, especially the ACC championship game, is Scotty Barnes just has not been what he's supposed to be, which is this guy's supposed to be drafted in the first round, Justin. He's supposed to be a lottery pick. So we're talking about a first 8 to 10 guys. Some people have him drafted as high as the number 5 overall. If you draft this guy, man, good luck, because he is not a lottery pick at this stage in his life. I think he needs another year of college. They try to force him almost as a point guard. Now they've got a All-American point guard that's coming in next year that's supposed to be just lights out, and that's what FSU's. This is what the Florida State team is missing. They don't have a point guard. They have a bunch of 2 guards and 3s that are sitting out there, and they try to force one of them to kind of run the offense, but it always looks forced. It looks like you're watching like a small forward trying to run the offense. They don't tend to have a rhythm, and I think that's going to be their bugaboo in the end. I don't know if it'll be against Michigan, but someone's going to knock them out, and it's because they don't have a true point guard, meaning I'm not saying you have to have someone like John Stockton who's dribbling between his legs and making you look like a fool. I'm talking about someone who's just actually a quarterback of the team and just facilitates.
Well, I'm hoping you figure it out, because I need you to advance and knock off Alabama in the next round. I don't think UCLA is going to do it this weekend. I'm pulling for them. I hope that they do, but Alabama can't cakewalk into the Final Four, because I cannot handle them winning a national championship in football and basketball in the same season.
I think it's strange. I think Michigan's a better team than Florida State when fully healthy, but I do think Florida State is a more difficult draw for Alabama, because the one thing Florida State will do is that they will get into them, and they'll get into their chest and make every time up the floor, where by the end of the game you're like, Jesus Christ, you're like an annoying gnat. Like right now I see one of their players, he scored, but he had 3 Seminole jerseys just draped over him, and that's what FSU does, because what they do that's better than most teams in the country is they will run 12 men deep onto their bench. So it's when you get late in the game, if the game is still within hand, FSU can tend to wear you down. But if they don't figure out, I'm a little surprised that the Colorado and maybe Michigan will do this, but someone hasn't put a press on Florida State. Basically play Florida State defense against them, because I don't think that they would do well, because we don't have an actual point guard. But anyways, moving on from that action, Major League Baseball is about to do a cut, and we are looking at, I was trying to draw up what that team is going to look like, the Braves specifically, because we talked so much about the Braves. We'll get into more of the teams later on in the week, but the Braves, they've got some interesting options. And
well, when you say options, do you mean options or options? Because if you mean options, I think they're going to put Newcomb and the guys that actually have options in the minors, and leave some of these guys up to like your Carl Edwards and your guys that they can bring some arms in and use in a lengthy season and not have to waste and let other clubs get a hold of. So what kind of options are you talking about?
Well, I'm looking at sorry, I got sidetracked because I saw that Sean was, I guess he was watching, and he was I think he's psyched for the Michigan Florida State showdown, as am I. Sean, you'll be happy that I moved up that auction draft a little bit, so we should get most of the draft in before FSU Michigan tips off. Okay, so what I'm looking at is here, I think it's almost a given that Inciarte is going to make the team, and not that he's played lights out, but the simple fact of the matter, Inciarte is going to make a lot of money. He's still an elite defensive player, and he's someone you can put in late in the game to spell Ozuna. I think he's going to be an expensive platoon player. He's also a guy that can give Acuna or Pache the day off, and he by just supplanting him into center field. Alex Jackson, I believe he's going to be the catcher. I think William Contreras, the brother of Wilson Contreras, the catcher for the Cubs, William is the overall package, but he's only 23, and I think it's his job next year. When Travis d'Arnaud becomes a free agent, Contreras is going to come up, and he's going to be the Braves catcher. Alex Jackson is a little older, not much, but when he first came over, I think a lot of people don't realize this. When Alex Jackson first came over and was traded a few years back, he was when he came out of high school, he was a catcher or he was a pitcher, and also played a little outfield. He got into the minor leagues, and he transitioned more into an outfielder. The Braves made a trade that involved him, and I don't remember what the trade was at the time, but they immediately told him, "You're a catcher. We are bringing you over here to teach you how to be a catcher. So for the next year, we don't give a damn about your hitting. We want you to focus on catching." And that's why Alex Jackson has become an elite catcher. His defense is phenomenal. He's got a little pop, but that's what you want out of your backup catcher, is someone who can defend, right? So I think he's going to be in there.
Well,
I
think you're right for most of the season, but I think opening day Contreras is going to be there just for the simple fact that AAA doesn't start till May. Remember that. You got a month until AAA starts. Are they going to keep Contreras swinging a bat so he can go into AAA hot and heavy? Or are they just going to sit him to wait for a month?
Well, they will be playing games within themselves. So
I guess they'll have proverbial spring training again for.
And the problem is, if you bring them up and then you send them back down, you might end up burning an option on them. So I just tend to think that I think talent wise, you're right. I think, look, if something were to happen to Travis d'Arnaud, I believe Contreras comes up and he doesn't become the backup to Alex Jackson. He becomes the starter. I just feel like Alex Jackson is cemented in as the backup catcher at this point. The other guy that I think is definitely going to get in is Jake Lamb.
Yes.
He has not hit that great, but he has had some success at the big league level, and he can play third base. He can also play either corner outfield, and that's big. And he's also been doing some first base a little bit. So that gives you a chance to give Freddie a day off every once in a while, right? So if we concede, regardless which catcher, they're not going to carry 3, because you're only going to be able to carry 13 hitters. I mean, you can carry more, but you're only allowed to carry 13 pitchers, period. That's the rule. And it's a 26-man roster now. So that leaves you with 13 hitters. 8 are your starters. There is no DH. So that gives you 5. If we put in Ciarte in, and we'll just say Alex Jackson, but maybe it's Contreras in, and Lamb, that's 3. I think the other guy is going to be Jason Kipnis. And he has not looked that great this spring, but he's a veteran. He's a left-handed bat off the bench. And I think because he can play several positions, that's going to be his way onto the team. And if all that happens, we're looking at who gets that 5th spot. And I think right now it's so up in the air. I'm sure they have their game plan, but I think Johan Camargo might be the odd man out.
Yeah, I think it'll be Adrianza. I'm hoping that's how you pronounce it.
Adrianza played so well.
And he has just multiple play. I mean, you saw Camargo fill in, and he just still, from where he filled in at third, he has lost that range at short. So he has lost his value to be Swanson's backup. You got to roll Adrianza. And then if you put Kipnis in, that you're right, that makes Camargo odd man out, because Kipnis can play a little short too. You really got to worry about somebody that can be a suitable backup for short. You do not have another one on the roster. And Camargo's just not getting it done. He doesn't have the range since he moved to third.
And his plate discipline on the left-hand side is terrible. I mean, he
pouts. I mean, he really pouted when he became a platoon player and lost the job out to Riley. And instead of going out there and earning it with the leather or the bat, it's honestly, he just appeared to pout. He literally just go up there and make horrible hacks and go on.
Sean's asking Camargo or Riley at third. It's by far good. It's going to be Riley.
It'll be Riley, Lamb, Camargo at third if you're looking at a depth chart.
Yeah, and Pache is going to be the center fielder. I don't know if he's ready at the plate yet, but he's definitely ready with the glove.
Did you see that arm? He threw a guy out at third day before yesterday and lights out. Don't run on Pache.
Dude, he's special. I'll tell you something else, man. They've got some guys in their – I was looking it up the other day. If you count Acuna and Pache, they've got 4 elite outfilders in their –
They've got Michael Harris that they're talking about's better than both of them.
Right.
They're talking him up like he could be better or as good as Acuna. I'm like, whoa.
Since Sean is listening, I'm gonna use one of his phrases. That's kooky dukes talk when you're talking about someone better than Acuna. But they are saying that Michael Harris might be the end all that beats all. And then you also have Drew Waters.
Yeah.
And this kid, Philip Irvin, I wonder if he finds his way onto the team. He would be the one dark horse that could possibly – he's hit pretty well. I think they're going to put Harris back in the minors to grow, and they don't want to ruin his maturation. But Philip Irvin, he is a kid who's 28 years old. I say kid, but he's got a decent amount of pop, and he plays all – he can even play center field, but he's typically a right fielder. He's played in left in spring. He's played a little center in spring. Philip Irvin could be the dark horse. But when it's all said and done, I think it's going to be Adrianza. He's 31 years old. A lot of people don't realize he's been around for a while. He's a perfect utility guy. The one guy that I'm pulling for that probably won't make the team, but I could see them bringing him on because he's a switch hitter and he's got experience, World Series experience, is Pablo Sandoval. But Sandoval, if he's willing to go back down to the minors, he might be a guy that they call up later in the year.
Alderon's a switch hitter as well. That's why I also put that in there. Plus, he's faster than Camargo as well. So you bring in some stolen bases and a lot of other aspects of that. So, hands down, I like your lineup there. The Kipnis, Camargo, I think is really what it boils down to. I haven't seen much of Kipnis in spring, so I don't know, but off previous years and past history, I'm going that I think he adds more to that middle infield and what we need than putting Camargo out there.
So then the last thing on the Braves roster, because I know you got to run, is the 5th starter, because Soroka's not going to start off the season. They're hoping he can be back in April. I think it's going to be sometime in May.
I think May 7th is what I saw over yesterday.
In a perfect world,
they anticipate to have him around May 7th.
Right, but that's assuming that there's no setbacks. And if they're pitching well, they're just not going to push them along. So you're going to have Fried, Morton, Anderson, and Smiley in that order, I believe. Your 5th starter right now, they would love for it to be Kyle Wright because of his age and his pedigree and the fact that they drafted him so high. But I don't believe that this is actually going to be based on that. And I think Bryce Wilson, look, Huskar Yanoa has pitched well, but I think he's more valuable in the bullpen. And I listen to a Braves podcast pretty regularly, and this guy is convinced that Yanoa is going to get the 5th start. But every time they put him in a 5th starter or as a starter role, he could usually only get through about 2 innings or so. And when he got that second time through that lineup, they'd rip him. Bryce Wilson, to me, deserves at least the opportunity because he pitched so well in the postseason. 4
games pitched, 2-0 win-loss record, 1.98 ERA, 13.2 innings pitches, 9 strikeouts, Whipple 9. That's his spring numbers. Yeah, he's my 5th starter.
Whose line was that, Bryce?
That's Bryce Wilson's.
Yeah. Every time I've watched him,
it's hands down non-debatable. Wilson is my 5th starter.
I believe so too. The only thing that would lead them to put Kyle Wright in there is because they're almost trying to force a round peg into a square hole. And they're trying to make, we drafted him so high out of Vanderbilt. But people have to realize, even though Kyle Wright is a little long in the tooth at 25 years old compared to Wilson, and maybe they're just trying to get him in there. The other theory might be that they're trying to put him in there to make him a part of a trade package down the road. So if he pitches well, they can move him. But when Kyle Wright came from Vanderbilt and came out of college, he was raw. And he was not quite far along as you tend to see when you draft a guy high out of college. And so Kyle Wright, I still think, I don't know if the book is done on Kyle Wright. I still think he can still define himself in the next couple of years, but the clock is ticking. He's 25. He can't continue to get rocked like we saw, couldn't find the strike zone. And when he did, he was just laying him in there to get ripped. You can't do that. You just absolutely can't do that. The 5th starter, I'm with you. Bryce Wilson deserves the start because he earned it at the end of the postseason last year.
And he's backed it up this spring.
And if you're not going to reward that, what the hell are you going to reward? And if Bryce Wilson can be the guy, he's 23 years old. You've actually got a longer leash on him because I think he still has 4 or 5 years of control left. Kyle Wright's got like 2 or 3. I would send Kyle Wright to the minors and hope he could continue, because remember, he always does well in the minors. Let him dominate the minors again. And then trade him. Just trade him away before anyone remembers that he can't pitch in the majors. Because I don't know about you, that I don't care where it falls in the fantasy draft this year. No way, no how am I drafting Kyle Wright. That son of a gun.
You have his stats in front of you. What's his size and age?
Kyle Wright?
Yes. Do you know off the top of your head?
He's 25 years old. He's 6'4".
So he is a little bigger than Bryce. Bryce is 6'2", 225, but he's 23 years old.
Yeah, Bryce is more of a Roger Clemens type. He's 6'2", 225, whereas Kyle Wright is 6'4", 215. I don't even know if Kyle Wright's 215. I feel like that dude's 180 soaking wet. I mean,
he doesn't appear on TV. He's one of them reverse me where it looks like it takes some weight off him then.
Bryce looks like a big guy. Is about the same size as him. He looks much smaller than Bryce Wilson. Bryce Wilson to me always looks like Casey Camp out there on the mound. I'm like, dude, I know one thing. You're not charging that mound.
I see Kenny Powers and I can't get past it.
Well, Casey Camp's got a lot of Kenny Powers.
And then I just start laughing.
What's your walk-off for the day, sir?
I'm sidetracked at this point. You just stole it from me. Hey man, it's catch-up day. We have no basketball, so everything we've put off the past 4 days, let's get caught up. We've got a little daytime basketball or baseball, but aside from that, catch up your chores and get ready for this upcoming weekend because it's going to be a great one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. I'm actually going to try to watch some baseball today. I haven't not watched.
I believe it's Braves Red Sox 105 game today, and it will be broadcast. So
yes, it is. I think it's on MLB Network because when it lists who's broadcasting, it says MLB.TV. So I would tend to think that that's probably means the MLB Network. So I'm gonna check it real quick. No, once again, it's the Yankees. I swear to God, they broadcast the Yankees more than anything. But anyways, it'll be available.
I thought that's what the Yes Network was for. But anyway,
that's what I thought too, man. But the MLB Network is like Yes Network South in the month of March. All right, brother. We'll see you tomorrow, and we'll be back in a flash. When we come back, we're going to get into this whole controversy where people are talking about the issue of the women's basketball not getting the same love as the men's basketball as far as the facilities. We'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterback. If you want to join in, the information's here on our YouTube line, and feel free to join the show. We'll be back in a flash.
This is our weight room. Let me show you all the men's weight room. All right, so everyone's freaking out about this video, which is understandable, but I'm going to try to shed some light on what's going on. So she starts off as referring to March Madness as the biggest basketball tournament for women, which I mean is true in some sense. But it's also very misleading. Like, nobody really thinks of women's basketball when you say March Madness. Or, like, imagine back in grade school when your teacher hands around the bracket for everyone to fill out, and it was, like, the women's tournament. Like, everyone would kind of be like, yo, like, what the heck's going on? And that's exactly the issue. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but nobody really watches women's basketball. I mean, that's why the women's tournament generates 4% of the revenue as men. It's $867 million to 34. And on top of that, the NCAA actually loses about $14 million a year just so that women's basketball can be a thing. So this girl, bless her heart, is trying to say this is like a human rights issue when the reality is the NCAA is paying $14 million that they're not getting back so that you can go to college for free because you play basketball. You understand that most people in the world don't even get to go to college. At the end of the day, sports is a showcase of athleticism, and you can't really fault people for wanting to watch more athletic players.
Armchair.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash.
We are now representing 12 women, and we will file the remaining cases, the additional 5 cases in due course as we do our due diligence. You should also know that we've also spoken to more than 10 additional women. So more than 22 women that we've spoken to who have reported conduct similar to that laid out in our public filings. We actually had contact with Deshaun Watson's agent/lawyer from Los Angeles, who minimized these allegations, who did not take them seriously. We wanted to resolve this matter without a lawsuit, without any publicity. We knew that once we filed a lawsuit, Texas, of course, has an open courts provision in the Constitution, so all lawsuits are public, and we wanted to avoid that. What we received instead of cooperation with Mr. Watson's agent was dismissive behavior and, frankly, incredible arrogance. Even after we had discussions with Mr. Watson's lawyer at the time, before he hired Rusty Hardin, one of the clients that we represent, even after we had correspondence and after we had talked to Mr. Watson's lawyer, he did it again. I mean, this conduct happened as recently as this month.
Those were remarks from the attorney that is filing the lawsuit, as 6 more lawsuits alleging sexual assault and inappropriate conduct were filed against Deshaun Watson on Monday. As he stated, the number is up over 20 at this point of women who have accused Watson, 13 lawsuits against Watson since last week. What to watch today? There's no March Madness. Hell, there's not even any NIT action. So we look over at MLB.TV for the last of the spring training games as it's coming to a halt this week. All these games are available on MLB.TV. 105 first pitch. You got the Atlanta Braves taking on the Boston Red Sox, the Twins and Pirates, Nationals and Cardinals, Yankees versus Tigers, Rays versus the Orioles, and Marlins versus the Mets at 1:10. At 4:05, these games will be on MLB.TV as well. Giants, Indians, Angels versus Rangers, and Chi-Town action, White Sox versus the Cubs. And at 4:10, first pitch, you've got the Brewers versus the LA Dodgers. And we finish this sports flash with the solemn farewell to one of the NBA greats, Mr. Elgin Baylor. Elgin Baylor died of natural causes on Monday and was surrounded by his wife, Elaine, and his daughter, Crystal. One of the most untalked about greats of the game because of the era that he played in long before cable TV, Sports Center, etc. Elgin Baylor was an 11-time All-Star, the NBA All-Star MVP in 1959, 10-time All-NBA First Team, the NBA Rookie of the Year in 1959. He was easily voted into the NBA's 50th anniversary team. His number 22 was retired by the Los Angeles Lakers, and he played his college days at the College of Idaho and Seattle from 54 and 55 to 56 to 58. Elgin Baylor was the number 1 pick overall in the 1958 draft. Elgin Baylor was 86 years old. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for more of the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast.
I'm Amy Lawrence, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
Do you want to lose 18 pounds fast and improve your health? Now you can lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months with Nutrisystem. Get delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners, even snacks and shakes delivered safely to your door. All delivered for free. It's easy to follow, and you'll see results in your first week. Just text BURN to 323232. You'll get your favorite foods made healthier and perfectly balanced to put your body in fat burning mode. Text BURN to 323232 right now and get 50% off a month of meals and shakes. That's right, 50% off a month of meals and 50% off a month of shakes with probiotics to help support your immune system. Just text BURN to 323232 right now. There's even a money-back guarantee. Millions of people have lost weight with Nutrisystem, and you can too. Lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months. Just text BURN to 323232. That's BURN to 323232.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out.
Well, all dads dress in the style of the last good year of their lives, right? That's how they dress.
You're nostrum, it's not my problem, but I'll smoke one if you got one. Lonesome, so come home soon, never too late.
Good morning. Welcome back here to CBS Sports Radio. Little Ox on the Roof for you out of Brooklyn, New York. Check them out. They should be getting back out there and hitting the local club scene as New York is starting to reopen. Bars should be opening in the very near future. Talked to a lady in North Carolina yesterday while I was working. The bars are still closed in North Carolina. It's unreal. Just 15 days. Just 15 days of shutdown, y'all. Just got to hold on a little longer. Boy, we fell for that one. Some stuff going on in the world of sports today. The college basketball Sweet 16 is set, so we're excited to see that. You've got 4 games on Saturday. Real quick, I'll go right back over them for people that missed out on that. 2:40 is Oregon State Loyola, and then after that you got Nova Baylor, Oral Roberts, Arkansas is at 7:25, and Syracuse and Houston at 9:55. All those games Eastern on Saturday. And then on Sunday, you got Creighton versus the Zags, FSU Michigan at 5 o'clock on Sunday, and then UCLA Bama. That should be a really good one as well. I think Bama's going to get them, but I'm not sold because I'll tell you what, that Pac-12 has been playing really good basketball. And Oregon versus USC, that should be a classic. I cannot wait for that game. I think that is going to be a phenomenal game. And they've got some great athletes, both of those teams, both really well coached. So we look forward to that. Look, there's been this thing going around, and ESPN's been kind of pumping it. We know how they are, but they've been complaining, and they've been giving so much airtime. It started with a TikTok video, and then that caught fire of showing the women's facilities versus the men's facilities up in Indiana where they're hosting the two. Well, the men's facility is in Indiana. I don't even know where the hell the women's facilities. I haven't watched one damn dribble of it. I've accidentally flipped over thinking that I was catching the NIT and finding out, no, this is women's college basketball. But there is a concern from the women's side that they had very little equipment brought in to help them work out. And the men have this huge weight room. Now, I would say the men, one of the reasons why they have a huge weight room that she's comparing one of them to, and they might be playing in the same area. I'm not 100% sure on that. The men are also playing. One of their facilities is the Lucas Oil Field dome where the Colts play. So I'd say they probably have access to whatever gym equipment that is probably accessible to the Indianapolis Colts. So that's one of the reasons. It's not like they flew a lot of this stuff in. And they're at better facilities because the men's tournament brings in more money. It just does. And this notion that it's all got to be equal, the video that played before the Sports Flash, that kind of wraps it up in a nutshell. When your sport loses $14 million a year, and actually I think he undershot it because I saw that women's college basketball loses over $20 million a year. Okay. Whereas the men's bring in a profit of over $500 million a year. That's your disparity. And I know they're going to say, well, Title IX this and Title IX that, and it's got to be equal, That's for scholarships. And I've said this for years. If you want to eliminate all the bickering, it's real easy. Eliminate women's college basketball. Nowhere in Title IX does it say you have to have the same amount of basketball scholarships for men and women. It just says you have to have the same amount of sports scholarships. So if you eliminate sports that hemorrhage your budget in the NCAA for the women's side, do the same for the men. I'm sure there are men's sports that crew. What the hell is that, right? But okay, we'll go to more of a traditional, we'll say a Southern school who doesn't have that. There are men's tennis teams. There are men's golf teams. Golf's probably a bad one because very little money is spent on that, and as well as tennis. But there are other sports teams that give scholarships that you could take that away from the men's side and say, look, man, sorry, but you're not making money. No one comes and watches you cross country, and we're just going to have to get rid of it. And unfortunately, we have to keep this many women's cross country because it loses us less money than women's basketball. And that'd be a real simple way to solve the damn thing. See, women's softball actually makes money. That's the difference. I saw this the other day and there was a gripe, and so I looked it up. There's a gripe that the women's softball gets more favor, and they were trying to throw the racism card, which is ridiculous, but they're trying to say that because softball is not predominantly African American, that this is what goes on. It's a ridiculous notion. Softball, women's college softball actually makes money because they have a decent contract with ESPN. They spend very little money in their for their actual facilities. All that is drummed up by the powers that be at their facilities, and I mean at their institutions. And then also women's college softball, if you watch a game of women's college softball, I'm not going to say every team. Don't at me with, man, I went to a Drake versus Drexel softball game. No one was there. I'm talking about if you watch a typical ACC, SEC, probably even the Big 10. I feel like the Big 10 has fairly competitive softball. I know the Pac-12, they bring it. That is a moneymaker. It's not to the degree of men's baseball, but they hold their own. So when you see all that, and I will say this for women's college basketball, although it's an inferior product and I can't watch it because it's dull as dishwater, if you really wanted to compete, why the hell do you keep going up against the men's tournament on television the same day and the same time? I would flip over and see accidentally, I thought maybe it was an NIT. I don't even understand the NIT going up against the NCAA championship. But you flip over and you think you're getting a men's basketball game. It ends up being a women's basketball game. And it's being played at the same time that there's 3 or 4 games going on like TBS, TNT, your True TV, CBS, that whole connection. Why in the hell would you do that to yourself? So we talked a little while ago about how, so we got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have 4 days. Over the next 4 days, there is no major championship basketball being played. I believe the NIT is coming back on Thursday. But 4 days here. If you wanted to build your sport, why wouldn't you have played these next 4 days? The men's tournament didn't even start until Thursday. You could have started your tournament Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of last week and got the women's tournaments, conference tournaments done, and you could build your sport. It just seems like there's always a lack of ingenuity when it comes to the marketing of these sports. It's like the WNBA. They'll put it on against something, and I forget what it is, but every year I'll see like the WNBA, they're trying to get you to watch while something major is going on. And they'll try to throw it in there because they think that just because a ball is being bounced, we're going to watch. Well, it's basketball, so basketball fans are going to watch it. No, they're not. Basketball fans are going to watch what they perceive to be the best. We know college basketball is not up to the level of pro basketball, NBA. But we know that men's college basketball is the best product for that level, and so we watch it. And it's still, if they were just terrible and just couldn't hit a shot, they couldn't dunk, they couldn't, get off a screen, poor dribbling, terrible passing, we wouldn't watch it. And that's why nobody watches a freaking women's tournament, because it's terrible. Have you ever sat there and tried to watch women's college basketball? It is absolutely terrible. It's boring. It's clumsy. I did see a really funny video the other day that someone put on TikTok where a girl was complaining that you're not giving women's basketball respect. You're not giving women's basketball respect. You don't know how good they are. And the whole time she's talking, they have a clip from the WNBA, and it probably goes 25, 30 seconds, and it looked like the Keystone Cops. They're dribbling. These are their professional, they're the elite of their elite, and they're dribbling back and forth. They can't hit a freaking a layup. They're kicking the ball around. It was absolutely pathetic. And we don't get scared by the woke flakes here, Sean. Okay, don't scare me about the woke flakes. Okay, fair enough, but we do not get canceled by the woke flakes. We are our own entity, so I don't have to be concerned with that. But it is the worst product you will ever see in your life. And a lot of people don't want to talk about it. They want to kind of skate around it and say, oh no, man, they do their best. No, this was terrible. This was the Women's National Basketball Association. Supposedly the elite women in the world are playing this, and it looked like the Keystone Cops. I mean, they were kicking. There was at least 5 possessions in 25 seconds, and none of it resulted in a point. None of them resulted in a point. And I'm sitting there going, I thought maybe every once in a while, do you ever sit there and go every once in a while and think to yourself, I think I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing what's so great about something. And then you see a clip and you go, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. I'm not missing a damn thing. I'm not missing a thing. It's like trying to convince you to watch T-ball. It's fine if that's your child out there and you're pulling for your child, and that's great. I have no problem with that. But it's a lesser product than actual baseball, right? So let's not try to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. And I will tell you this, I have said this for years. I will watch women's tennis over men's tennis any day of the week. That is the one sport that I feel like the women's game is, it's better. The women aren't better at the sport, okay? But the product is better to me, because with men's tennis, I always get this feeling that I am just watching, essentially, I'm watching aces and double faults. And that's all I see all game long. I see aces and double faults all game long. The women's, you actually get a serve and a volley, and a rally. So I will watch women's tennis. That is the one sport that I will concede that it is a better product to me. I know a lot of men's tennis fans are going to go, what are you, nuts? But I much more prefer. Sean's saying women's hockey is better it's better to watch than women's basketball. I thought Sean was saying women's hockey is better than men's hockey. I was like, wait, what? What am I missing? Are they in thongs out there? What are you talking about, Sean? I thought I was missing something. What's the women's football league where they run around their lingerie? I think it's actually called the Lingerie Football League. All right, you might be able to convince me of that. But from what I've seen of women's basketball, I don't think I want to see many of those heathens in anything skimpy. I say actually put more clothing on them. It's time to turn back time and get the hell out of here. We look forward to tomorrow where Sean will join us. Should have a lot of fun as Michigan, Florida State is going to have a showdown on Sunday. I do think Michigan's the better team. I just hope that Florida State can force turnovers and just difficult, make life difficult. If we can make life difficult, I think that'll actually be something that we can hang our hat on with Florida State. I think their lack of ability to be able to move the ball up and down the court without turnovers is gonna do them in. And it wouldn't shock me if Michigan beats them by double digits. I don't want that to happen, but it wouldn't shock me, because Michigan's the one Big Ten team that I think was not overseeded. If Livers would have been healthy, this team, the sky's the limit. I don't know when Livers is going to be back. Sean might be able to tell us more about that tomorrow. Turn back time. Okay, on this date in 1938, Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis frees 74 St. Louis Cardinal minor league players, makes them free agents. It was a groundbreaking move. Later on, of course, they would they would be fighting the clause and whether or not a minor leaguer would be tied to its individual team. Remember something about the St. Louis Cardinals. That was built by Branch Rickey, who later brought that same minor league system to the Brooklyn Dodgers. Branch Rickey, if you ever get a chance, Branch Rickey has got a couple of books on him where it tells his story of his life. He was a fascinating individual. Birthdays.
It's your birthday today. What does that mean? I guess I'll try.
We lost him a couple of years ago, but I always think of this guy, Roger Bannister. When I was a kid, everybody knew that he was the 4-minute mile guy. He lived to be 90 years old. And it would have been his this would have been his 92nd birthday today, but I always like to give happy birthday to him. Hopefully he's doing well. Heard that he has got the coronavirus. We were just talking about women's basketball, how dull and boring it is, but Gina Ariema is definitely the GOAT when it comes to coaches, him and Pat Summitt. I'm always going to lean to Pat Summitt because she kind of was the trailblazer. But Gina Ariema, he is, wow, is he really 67 years old? He actually looks really, really young for 67. Moses Malone, who died in 2015. He was born on this date in 1955. When I was a kid growing up, that was the one that I knew went straight from high school to the NBA and it actually did something. And if you want to go to yesteryear, Bengals fans and Titans fans alike remember Carl Pickens. He is 51 years old today. Jason Kidd, by the way, he turns 48 this morning. So we wish all those a happy birthday. Tomorrow we got Sean O'Toole with us, and Justin Waller will be here as well. We're going to get into the tournament. We're going to get into some baseball. We're going to have some fun with that, and we'll see what happens. Look, this Deshaun Watson thing, we're going to peel back the onion on that tomorrow because it is not being talked about. I didn't get a chance to talk about it as much today as I wanted to. Deshaun Watson is in some heavy, heavy water. If you go and read that article that I tweeted, it goes into detail what he did or what he was allegedly done. I will say that. She's accusing him of some pretty creepy stuff. And if it's remotely true, his trade value has gone down the crapper. My walk-off for the day is there's no basketball today. There's a little bit of spring baseball. If you play fantasy baseball, this would be a great time to do some homework because I don't think you're going to have time on the weekend as March Madness nears us once again. Great job for everyone today. Thanks for everyone who's watching and listening on CBS Sports Radio and YouTube Live. We'll see you tomorrow with Sean and Justin.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get